Hi, my name is Toby Caps. I've had the pleasure of knowing Dell for uh, probably many decades. We first touched base probably back in 1973 when I served as a lodge chief of Umpqua Lodge in Wenatchee, Washington. One of Dell's best friends on the National OA Committee was a gentleman named Ray Pettit. And the two of them, Erner Goodman had picked out as dedicated thinkers to serve on the ceremonial advisory group. And Ray and I drove from Wenatchee, Washington to Santa Barbara and had the experience of meeting Erner for the first time and Carol Edson for the first time. And with Dell being one of Ray's best friends, I'm sure we interacted often down there, but my unfortunately my memories of 1973 are not quite as vivid as I would hope. But most of our time really was the last 25 years where we served together in a variety of positions. I came to the Seattle area as the section advisor, which was a role that Dell had held for many years. And then I became the Western Region chairman of the Order of the Arrow. And then we served together on the National Order of the Arrow Committee for about 20 years together, and just have so many wonderful memories of time spent together. I wish that I had really spent more time thinking about each interaction that we'd had. But as it is, when you're together with your friends, often you don't take the time to really appreciate each of those moments. But there are a few that really stand out to me. Probably the most impactful memory I have of Dell was many years ago. He and I had the opportunity to travel to Pennsylvania to go to Treasure Island for Unami Lodge's 90th anniversary. And it was just a wonderful weekend of celebration. And Dell and Brad Haddock and I, our national chairman at the time, had the opportunity to go visit the Devil's Tea Table. And we climbed up to the side of the mountain and climbed out to the tea table. And it was the first and only time, actually, that I had ever seen Dell cry. It was so impactful for him to visit that hallowed ground for the first time and walk the same steps that Erner Goodman had walked, his longtime hero. And it was just a very memorable experience. And we followed that by going down into the original ceremonial bowl where all of the Order of the Arrows ceremonies began. The skies opened up. We had the worst thunder and rainstorm that I've ever been in my life. And the only way to access the island, obviously, is by boat. So he and Brad and I took the boat, a rowboat almost, back to the parking lot. We were absolutely drenched at that point. And then we drove to the hotel that we were staying at that night. And Brad and Dell and I were rooming together, and we get in the room and soaking wet. And Brad says, there's 2 queen-size beds. Brad says, okay, Dell, this is your bed. I'll sleep over here. Toby, you're on the floor. So I immediately knew my standing in the Order of the Arrow when it came to those 2 fine gentlemen. But that was a great weekend that I'll never forget. We had so many opportunities to work with young men, and the one thing that stood out every time we would have a National Order of the Arrow conference or an annual planning meeting in Dallas each year was a lot of us on the National Committee, when we get to those meetings, we can hardly wait to get together with our friends and hang out and talk about what's been going on since we've seen each other last. But in every one of those occasions, Dell was always over greeting the new section chiefs and wanting to talk to them about their experiences and welcoming them to the event. And I think it had it was the way he was impacted by Erner Goodman back in 1948 when he met Erner for the first time at the National Annual Meeting in Seattle. And he went up to Erner and wanted to talk to him about jamboree preparations because Erner was in charge of the jamboree. And so they talked, and Dell asked all kinds of questions. And then Erner asked him if he knew anything about the Order of the Arrow. And he talked to him about the ordeal and the brotherhood. And the way that he treated Dell at the age of 19, I think, is something that is a memory that lasted with him forever. And so at every event we went to, he always wanted to go and spend time with the young men and women that we serve. And that's just a indelible memory that I'll always have of him. The other fun memory that I have of Dell that is probably not entirely appropriate to share, but one of the weeks that we had in Order of the Arrow training was at the Orange County, the training center down in Orange County, California. And Dell and I were roommates, and oftentimes I would be assigned to just keep an eye on Dell. And so that first night we went to bed and woke up the next morning. I had my alarm set early because we had an early morning breakfast meeting, and my alarm went off. It was very loud. Woke up, went in, took a shower, came back out, and Dell had not moved. He was laying in bed, straight at attention, arms folded, and so I said his name several times, louder and louder and louder to wake him up. And finally I took my cell phone and I did the little deal on there that makes the ring notification go off, and did that really loud, and he did not wake up. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, Dell died on my watch on our first trip down here. Finally, I went over, I shook his feet. Finally, his eyes popped open. He sits up, says, "Oh, good morning, Toby. Sorry, I turned off my hearing aids last night, so I couldn't hear anything." So it was a typical Dell memory that nearly cost me a heart attack, but just another great experience that I've had with Dell Loader. And I miss him dearly. As you all know, that on November 10th of 2019, shortly after his 91st birthday, Dell went home. And I know to this day that the next voice he said, or that he heard, was, "Well done, good and faithful servant leader." We love you, Dell, and we miss you. God bless you.